Hello, everyone. My name is Shane Bassett, the movie analyst, your host. And on today's episode, I am about to talk to someone in an animated movie, but has done a lot of other cool stuff in her career as well. Good morning, Elizabeth Cullen. Hello.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's really appreciated you've got some time for me today, and I'll delve into some of your career, I guess, shortly. But we are here to talk about an animated Australian film, perfect for families, Combat Wombat Back to Back. How did you get involved? I mean, it's do you just have to still like self-tape for a voiceover, or how does it work?
Yeah, so in the beginning, it was a self-tape that I did, using my face and my likeness, but
Yeah.
also mainly focusing on my voice, of course. And when I first got the brief, I just thought the script was so sweet, and I really connected with the idea of playing a lizard as well. My brothers actually called me Lizard growing up, so I really identified with the
Lizzie,
character.
lizard, yeah.
Lizzie, Lizard, it all kind of works. So yeah, it was my childhood nickname. So it was kind of a dream of mine to get to play a lizard. And so yeah, I did a self-tape originally, and I have been told that I've got very lizard-like features, so I'm sure that helped to my advantage.
Well, take it
Yeah.
as a compliment because you are unique. Put it that way.
Yeah, I think so. It's the big eyes, it's the kind of the reptilian stare. But yeah, I think it was a really interesting process actually going from that first self-tape to then doing callbacks and tweaking the voice. But I think that Skylar really landed in my kind of voice range anyway. So it was a very natural process for me to get to that character.
Was it always going to be Skylar? Was there any other characters that you might have read for or
No, Skylar was,
considered for?
yes, Skylar was always the one for me, which suited me just fine because I think it was a perfect fit.
Well, exactly. You just explained your own look to me, so
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Speaking of names, though, have you got a middle name?
I do, it's Claire.
Okay, very
Yeah, and
good.
it's without an I, so Clare, which is a little bit more unconventional. But
It is,
yeah,
yeah.
I think my dad got it from a movie. There was this blonde girl in this film, and he's like, if I have a daughter, I want middle name to be Claire. Um, and yeah,
That,
the rest is history.
that's pretty cool. And you can't remember what the movie was, though?
I actually can't. No, I think it might have been it was something very old and probably outdated now. But yeah, I can't remember the film.
Well, back before you started making it big time in movies such as Elvis, you received, was it an award from the Actors Guild of
Yeah,
Australia? See, that
I
would have been a really good incentive when you were young.
absolutely. At the time, I was auditioning just so much, and I had done some work in the industry, but I
Yeah.
was really still just getting on my feet. And to be recognized by the Casting Guild of Australia as a rising star, um, it was quite unbelievable when it happened, when I first got notified, and it was all hush hush in the beginning. I was very, very chuffed. And yeah, it was a real pat on the back because sometimes with the audition process, you really are in the dark about where you stand
Oh,
and
I'm sure that's how it
yeah.
works. Yeah.
Yeah, so it can be quite scary sometimes. And like there's a freeing part of that as well because you kind of feel like maybe I'm the best or maybe I'm among the best and maybe they love me, maybe they don't, and that's fine. So it's freeing, but it's also a little bit scary being in the dark. So to receive that, it really was it was a very gratifying thing. I felt very honored at the time, and I still do, to be considered as a part of that group.
I can tell that it still means a lot to you. And was that different to the scholarship, or was it all the same part of what
So
happened to you back then?
yeah, so the scholarship that I received was actually when I finished high school. So I had an agent at the time. Um,
Cool.
yeah, so the scholarship, I think you're referring to the Bond University scholarship.
Yeah, yeah, Bond. I spent some time in Varsity Lakes.
Oh, did you? Very
Yes, so
good.
I know Bond University very well.
Yeah.
I've been there and done a couple of talks about films.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's pretty lovely. The campus is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
Yeah, so when I finished high school, I'd made some films during school, and the plan was always to pursue acting. And I was considering going to, some of the big acting institutions. I was
yeah,
auditioning at the time for NIDA and VCA.
yeah.
Um, and I actually hadn't yet done my NIDA or my WAPA audition, but I'd done my VCA and my QUT. And my film teacher in high school entered me in a film competition at Bond University using my short films from school.
Nice.
Yeah, and at the time I was just like, oh, this will be kind of interesting. I mean, it would be a bit of fun. Maybe I'll get to show my films and that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
And then I got through to the final round and went to the ceremony at Bond University, thinking that again I'd meet some filmmakers and it'd be a bit of a laugh
Bit of
and
networking.
yeah, I'd enjoy myself. It'd be fine. Networking event.
Yeah.
But I actually ended up winning the overall prize for that year, which was a full scholarship to the university
Oh, unreal.
to study film and television. So I actually ended up having to make a big choice because I got into VCA for acting for the 3-year degree,
Yeah.
and at the same time got this scholarship to go to Bond Uni, and I feel like I think I could have done either and still, you know, had a different journey, but I still probably would have ended up where I am. But I'm so glad that I went with Bond Uni and
Yeah.
got free education, but got such an amazing education there. And I do want to make my own films, so I felt like I got a real behind the scenes look of set life and an aspect of all parts of the filmmaking process. It was a very broad course,
Mm.
and it really set me up to be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm glad it was you're calling it a broad course, because you don't want it just to be streamlined into one or two curriculums. You want
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
So
we got a
good.
real taste of everything, and it was very practical and hands-on. Lots of filmmaking exercises that we actually like, you know, we
Yeah.
were using industry equipment as well. So it was an amazing experience. I got so much out of doing it.
I'll circle back to Combat Wombat for sure, but you were saying about directing. I know that you directed a short. Is that something you're going to expand on? Are you working on maybe producing or directing things in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in a bit of a process of getting back into the writing process.
Yeah, okay.
I took a bit of time off after COVID. I think my creative spirit was just a little bit dampened
A
after
lot of
that time.
people's was, not just
Yeah.
yours. Yeah.
It was funny. I think a lot of people, it was either one or the other. They either thrived and they produced a lot of work, or they found that it really crushed them.
Yeah.
And I was unfortunately in that category where I felt like it did crush me a little, but I'm definitely finding my feet. I've met a lot of really amazing people, obviously some great networking happening over the last few years with all the
Yeah.
work that I've done.
Yeah.
And this year I'm hoping to make, I've started working on a short film script that I'm hoping to make with some friends. And I feel like it's just really important if you want to make anything, just to start out doing something small. It can just be for fun. It's just making things that's the important thing. It's the consistency of it, because it's like a muscle and you really do have to exercise it. I feel a little bit scared going back into it after having taken a break, but
Scared, really? Okay. So butterflies, scared, or just
yeah,
kind of
I
intense?
think excitement and nerves mixing
Yeah, yeah.
together. Like there's that fear of there's always that fear of showing your work as well, because especially after it's been a long time, I always feel that as well when a piece of work is coming out where that I've acted in. There's that fear and that excitement, and it mixes, and it's this little cocktail of nerves. But it's a lovely feeling too, and I think people chase that feeling, and I certainly do as well. It's quite addictive.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it does. And it keeps you in the game. Obviously, you just want to keep going because you love our industry so much.
Absolutely, yeah. And
Yeah.
you're constantly meeting so many amazing people
Yeah.
uh, that just love to create, love to tell stories. And I
Yeah.
think that's why I got into this industry in the first place, just for a love of telling stories.
You know, I watch everything and get paid to review everything pretty much that's released. And I'm an advocate for Australian film. And what we have in our country is unique with our
Mm.
costume departments, our, you know, light riggers, from everyone behind the scenes to in front of this, you know, at the camera. So I really am happy to be supporting our industry. Like you say, there's so much happening.
Absolutely. There's so much happening in our industry, and it really is still finding its feet. But I think
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
really, yeah, and I think it's a really amazing time for Australian filmmakers and filmmaking, because we're really starting to get seen on the international stage with films like Talk to Me, which just has absolutely blown
So
up.
stoked. Yeah, so stoked that went so
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that the more money, the more incentives there are for young filmmakers and funding opportunities. I just think we have so much talent in this country,
Yeah.
and the fact that it is becoming more of an incentive for those things to be seen and those voices to be heard, I think it's really wonderful, and it can only go up from here, really.
Of course, yeah. Hope
Yeah.
so. Now, voiceovers, it's obviously a type of acting, but were
Mm.
you in I mean, I'm sorry if you've been asked this before, but were you recording in a booth on your own? Did you have fellow cast members with you
Yeah.
reciting the lines, or a scene partner?
So yeah, this was my first voiceover experience,
Yeah.
especially, yeah, especially on of this scale. So I found the whole process really fascinating. I was on my own in a recording booth with,
Okay.
yeah, so with no other cast members. I did have the directors with me, so I had that immediate feedback, which was
Yeah.
really helpful. But yeah, I basically rocked up to a recording booth in Brisbane, and yeah, just spent a few hours going through each of my lines, so all of my dialogue, just one after the other, line after line,
Yep.
and just really workshopping it with the directors at the time, with Ricard and Tanya, which was such an amazing experience working with them. They were so helpful and
Oh, I'm
like,
glad that they were there
yeah.
to give you feedback, and you could emote different ways of presenting the line. Like,
Yeah, so
yeah.
there's so much freedom in the
Yep.
recording booth, which is one of the things I love so much about voice acting, and why I want to do more of it, because you can really just go from 0 to 100, and it's such a playful environment. And also for all the different sounds that you would get from a character that's not dialogue. So there's breathing, and there's fighting sounds, and there's crying, and there's screaming, and there's laughing, and you do all different variations of that particular emotion and that particular sound, which is really fun. It's just great. Yeah.
And if you can master accents, different accents, you can probably get work overseas, because there's so much voiceover work in other countries. Are you any good at accents or different languages?
Yeah. Oh, I wish I was good at languages. That's
Yeah.
something I'm trying to work on at the
Yeah.
moment. I'm trying to learn Spanish, and it's not going great.
It's a hard
But
language to get your
yeah,
tongue around, actually.
I know. Well, I can't roll my R's, so
Yeah.
it's a big learning curve for me, that in particular. Accents, yeah, I've gotten quite good, quite adept at certain accents just through years of auditioning. And I find that I'm a pretty good mimic. So if I hear something, I can probably mimic it back. Like, I find it really easy to be able to just mirror
Mm,
whatever sound that I'm hearing.
mm.
But it is a process, and it does take many years to develop accents and accent training in general. It's a long-winded process sometimes, but my American accent and my English accent are pretty good. They're not bad.
Oh, that's good. If you think they're good,
I mean,
and
I think they're good, so
yeah.
who knows? But I've been told, particularly with English, that
Mm,
my natural speaking accent isn't super Australian, like typical Australian. I've actually had people when I first meet them be like, "Oh, have you come from England, or have you spent some time in England?" And I'm like, "No, I grew up in Cairns. I'm as far
yeah.
north as it gets." So
Yeah. That totally doesn't surprise me. I've heard so many times over the years that Americans usually say it, that they won't believe that Australians can do such great English accents,
yeah,
whereas English and Americans can't do great Australian accents sometimes.
yeah. I
Sometimes.
know. I think it's, yeah, because I've heard that American sits at the back of the mouth when you articulate.
Yeah, yeah.
English is at the front, and then Australian's like in the middle. So we find it quite easy to
Mm.
move between the two, just depending on how you shape your mouth. But I think going from one extreme to the other is really challenging. And just pretty much the Australian accent is one that is really hard to replicate. So
Mm.
having that under our belt already is pretty great.
It's hard enough to replicate, as you say, but then it's also even harder to say some of our slang sayings, or
Yeah.
it's just some of the words that we say, to drop them in so easily and sound
Yeah.
natural, it would be
It's like,
tricky.
really, to an outsider, they really are just gibberish.
Yes.
But it's,
Like,
yeah, it's funny when you see someone coming from overseas and trying to understand just colloquialisms and slang. And they're just, yeah. I mean, I actually have this question for you. What do you call swimmers?
swimmers.
Yeah,
Uh,
do you call them swimmers?
yeah, I would call them swimmers if there's a collective of them, but if there's only
Mm.
one person, I'd say, oh, there's a swimmer out there.
Oh, so like the clothing swimmers. So would you
Oh,
call them
swimmers.
swimmers?
Sorry. Yeah, I would call them boardies, probably more,
Okay.
because
Yes.
I mostly wear board shorts when I surf,
Yeah.
or swim. So I would say boardies, but if I was referring to like swimmers,
Mm.
I'd say swimmers or a cosy.
Oh, so yeah, Cozzy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's different every so I would say Togs where I grew up was
See, I
Togs.
don't. I never. That's a word I never
Yeah.
say. Never
That's
say.
so funny. I said it the other day around someone who's like super Australian. They're like, what are you saying? What's
Yeah.
Togs? Like,
It's. I vaguely
Togs.
remember it. I vaguely remember that word
Yeah.
in when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
I've heard it in movies, obviously, because.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But in general, sorry, Elizabeth, I haven't heard togs for a long time.
I know. I think it is a bit old fashioned, but some of my, yeah, I'm a little bit old fashioned.
Yeah, stick to
Yeah.
boardies,
Mm.
cosy, or swimmers.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good safe bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with Skylar, were you
Mm.
given free reign to pretty much change any of the dialogue and go ad lib, or was it something that just like most acting roles, you had to stick to the script?
Pretty much we stuck to the script. There were a couple of words I was able to ask and see if it was possible to change some words just to make it a little bit more natural.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think the script was really wonderfully written and it was perfect for the character. I did ad lib a few things here and there that might I can't even remember if they ended up in the final cut, but there was certainly a level of freedom that you don't get on a typical set. And because you do have that direct connection with the directors who are in the room with you, it's really wonderful just to be able to collaborate. Like it felt very collaborative in ways that I haven't experienced on other sets.
Yeah, if this, and I hope it is a big hit, and in the past, some animated movies have spin-offs for some of their characters.
Mm.
If Skylar had a spin-off and you could pitch it right now, what would you
Oh,
pitch? What story could you pitch for Skylar?
oh, that's hard.
Good. I'm making it a hard
I feel
question.
like, yeah, I feel like I would want to do Skylar like maybe in 5 or 10 years time.
Yeah.
And like I would kind of want it to be almost like a crime, like underground crime, where she's become this really, really powerful superhero. Because the thing with
Nice.
Skylar is that she suffers from confidence, and
Yeah.
throughout the film, you kind of see her blossom. And I just want to, I want to see her in an environment where she's thriving, and there's a lot of moral choices that she has to make. Um, and I think it would be nice to also see her in an environment where she's leading a team. So
Yeah.
I'd love to see her take reign of like a larger team and see her really start to flex all the skills that she's got because she's got so much potential. That's what I loved so much about Skylar, is that she was teeming with this potential, but held back by so many barriers and so many inner walls that she had up. Um, so I would love to see her flourishing as like a Batman-esque kind of style.
Wow, that's a big call.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skylight. Yeah. The whole world is her oyster. So
Mm.
hopefully the animators see that too and the directors see that too.
You never know. I just wanted to give you some help pitching it there because you never know what might happen, right?
This is true.
Yeah, I'm sure
I
it's a
wish I
big
had more time to
success.
think about it because yeah, she's an amazing artist as well. So maybe, you know what, maybe she actually goes back into the world of petty crime and becomes an art thief. And
Okay.
then that could be a thing, an art thief
Yeah.
who then
Uh,
has to go through another reform.
a sneaky lizard art thief.
Yeah,
You
I'll work
become.
on it. I'll workshop this.
It sounds good, and I reckon you should pitch it to the directors at some point.
Yeah, I shall.
The Bureau of Magical Things, even
Yes.
going back a little bit further now, just that
Mhm.
obviously would bring a lot of good memories because that would have been one of your biggest early roles.
Yeah.
Do you still keep in contact with some of the cast, or I
Hmm.
mean, do you look back on it? A lot of older shows are getting revisited. Do you think it'd be a good idea to revisit that show or bring it back?
Yeah, I think Bureau has a very fond place in my heart. It
Yes.
really was my introduction to the industry, and I made some amazing connections on that show, and I have
Yeah.
lifelong friends from it. And yeah, I still hear from the producer Jonathan, still
Okay.
keep in touch with Jonathan and the directors as well. Like it's really nice to just like touch base with them every so often and see what's happening. I love the show as well. It's really beautiful. It's got some wonderful messages about friendship
Mm.
and the magic of the world that we live in. Yeah, and I would love to see it have a resurgence. I know there's a huge fan base that wants season three, season three.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
and
heard
I
that.
mean, I could cut all my hair off again. I could do that.
No,
Yeah,
your short hair really suited you then, and I'm surprised that
yeah.
you haven't gone back to that,
I
since.
might, honestly. It's a constant thing with me. I'm like, should I just shave my head? Sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm like, today's the day I'm going to shave my head. And then I don't, and it's probably a good thing that I don't. But I feel like I'll definitely go back to the short hair look. I really loved it.
Personally, yeah, I think you should. I reckon it'll look really nice on you now
Thank you.
as an older woman as well. But
Yeah.
leads me to think, to ask you, for a role, is there
Mhm.
anything you wouldn't do to your appearance? Would you, obviously you would shave your head for a role, or
Yeah.
do pretty much anything physically to have a role that you
I
really wanted?
honestly, I think if it was something I really believed in and I
Yeah,
believed in the story and I was excited about the character, I'd do anything. I think that cutting my hair so short from one of my earlier roles was
yeah.
really wonderful. It was so freeing because now
Mm.
I'm just like, yeah, I'll do that again and I'll do more again because nothing's permanent. Hair grows back and we change all the time. So I feel like doing it in an environment like that, which is structured, going through a drastic change would actually be,
Massive, yeah.
yeah, it would be a wonderful experience. And I feel like I would grow so much as a human doing that, both within myself and within a character that I play. So I would love to. Like, I keep thinking that I want to get a really transformative role.
Yeah,
And fingers crossed that I do. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm down for it. Whatever anyone wants to do to me, they can do it.
Good to know, because some
Yeah,
actors I've spoken to, they'll be a little hesitant, and I understand that. But
of course, yeah.
yeah, that's good to hear. Look at Russell Crowe in Romper Stomper. That is one that I always go back to. There's one of many, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
there's
and it's definitely up to personal preference as well, because there is
mm,
that fine line between where an actor is a person themselves and
mm,
then all the multitude of roles that they may play.
mm.
And it can be hard to strike that balance sometimes. And you're constantly, I think you're constantly in a position where you are wondering how your physical appearance will determine, obviously, your marketability and your
Yes.
later work. So it's a constant thing. And I struggle with that as well.
Okay.
It's hard to know what is going to be right for you at the age that you are, and what's happening in the world of casting. It's really hard to pick it.
Oh, yeah. It'd be sometimes
Mm,
walking on eggshells, and then other times the confidence levels would be massive. So, and really sky
absolutely.
high.
Yeah.
I understand the business, so it's good to
Mm,
know that I'm not alone. Everyone does have different ideas about it, but it's a good
mm,
one that we're in.
it is.
One of the successful shows last year, or at least I think it was a big success,
Yeah.
was Paper Dolls, which
Yes.
you were part of.
Yes.
Tori, I think, was your character's name.
Tori. Yeah,
And
Tori.
yeah, again, Tori, that was a really good show. And it
Yeah.
wasn't even, it was advertised really well, but it honestly all of a sudden developed this core audience and
Mm,
still like it. And the music went well on the charts
yeah.
and Spotify and so forth.
Yeah.
Tell me about making that one, because that's something completely different again for you.
Yeah. Yeah, my Paper Dolls was a great experience because it was so different, unlike anything I've done. And particularly the level of like the production design and the attention to detail in terms
Yeah.
of the period, the 90s, like early 2000s, late 90s.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was amazing to step onto set.
I loved it. I thought
Yeah.
the era was captured really well.
Absolutely, it was, and all of the girls that played that core group was so fantastic.
Mm.
And working with Tanika, the director, was wonderful. I guess the only downside is that I didn't have enough time. I was only on that first episode,
Yeah.
and I just wish that my character had been a little bit bigger so I could have stayed in the world a bit longer.
Yeah.
But I loved playing a bit of a wild child, a little bit of a troublemaker in the start and in and out, and then yeah, I got to enjoy the rest of it.
Well,
Just
I
watching it.
don't quote me, because I haven't heard anything from Paramount Plus, but you never know, if there's a season two, Tori could return, right?
Yeah, this is what I'm hoping. The return of Tori. She comes back in a big and dark way. The revenge of Tori. That's what I'm really hoping. Or a prequel. You never know.
Yeah, actually, that's probably a better idea, because then you could
Mm.
take it even further back into the era and the fashions and the music and the everything
Yeah.
that was happening then.
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, good luck. You never know. I really enjoyed that show, and rated
Mm.
it really highly, and all the girls were terrific on it.
I know they're wonderful.
Jess Carrera, producer as well. She's
Yes,
producing some really good things.
I
Um,
know.
so yeah, let's hope season two. Paramount Plus, you're watching.
Yes.
Elvis, of course, I can't interview you without
Mm.
mentioning that. That
Yeah.
was an Oscar-nominated, Best Picture nominated film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huge everywhere. I don't know. Did you attend any of the big premieres? I was at the State Theatre in Sydney.
Oh yeah, I attended I think it was the Australian, and maybe was it the world premiere on the Gold Coast,
Oh,
which
the
was
Gold
always
Coast
just
one. Yeah, I
before.
couldn't make that one.
Yeah, that's the one I attended, which was such a riot. It was so
Yeah.
much fun. And seeing the film, it was like a bit of a fever dream. Actually, that whole thing for me was a bit of a fever dream. It was great.
Well, talk to me. How did Baz handpick you for the role? Was that a
Yeah.
process, and just
Yeah.
being on set because COVID hit
Oh,
uh,
I know.
while you were all making it? Like, just can
Yeah.
you in a nutshell tell me all about it?
Yeah, of course. So when I first auditioned for the role, I sent the tape off thinking, I'm never going to hear back about this. And then it
Yeah.
actually took a while to hear back. And I obviously had assumed that the role had gone to someone else.
Mm,
And I distinctly remember when I heard that I got the role, because I was walking around Woolies and it was height of COVID, but on the Gold Coast, the restrictions were a little bit less. So I had my mask on, walking around Woolies,
right.
and I got the call from my agent, and I had a panic attack from excitement in Woolworths. So I just like forgot that I had to do shopping, and I was wandering around like a lost soul.
Oh no! Did you have a basket that you just
Oh,
left on
I
the
had a
ground?
basket that I was carrying around, and I like was just walking down every aisle, like freaking out, being like, "Oh my God, this is amazing."
Funny.
It was pretty hilarious. I must have looked pretty crazy. Um,
Oh,
but yeah, but working on that movie was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. And again, a limited time on set, but the time that I had, I valued so much. And
mm,
I do believe, in terms of handpicking, I believe that Baz probably handpicked me, which is a huge honor. And working with him was incredible. He's such a giving director.
mm,
And my scene was very one-on-one with Austin
yeah,
and Baz, and just unlike anything I've ever done. The choreography, again, the attention to detail,
yeah,
and just how generous Baz was
yeah,
with his time with me, with the connection that we all shared. It
yeah.
was wonderful.
Oh, that's good to hear because he puts a lot of love into all his projects
Oh yeah.
and his cast. I mean,
Mm,
he filmed The Great Gatsby, a lot of it in Fox Studios in Sydney, and I saw some of the sets and saw him, firsthand, and it's great to see. And Moulin
yeah,
Rouge, of course, back in the
I
day.
know. Such incredible and ornate films.
Yeah,
The attention to detail really shows the love and the care that he puts into each film that he makes.
yeah.
Um, and
Is,
Catherine Martin as well, like that
oh,
team,
Catherine, yeah, of course.
unbelievable. Oh, the dress that Catherine Martin designed me,
Yes.
I fell in love with.
I was going
And
to ask you about the costume. Did you get to keep any mementos or
oh, I wish that dress.
earrings?
Yeah, oh, I wish that, particularly that dress, because it was handmade for my body, and that's that again. Like, my character is very small, and the moment was so little, but it became this beautiful, glorious thing, because everything was just the attention to detail. Everything was handmade
Yeah.
specifically for that thing, and it had just so much care and love. Yeah, I just wish that I got to keep that dress. It was beautiful.
Listen to you gushing.
I know.
Yeah, obviously it was an important role, and I'm really glad to hear that you can talk
Yeah.
about it.
I look back on it very
Yeah.
fondly, very
Mm.
fondly.
Well, animated films in Australia aren't that huge. We've had a few, popular ones and a few that
Yeah.
have gone under the radar as well. With Combat Wombat, would you compare it to any other, not Australian, but any animated films, or do you have a favorite animated film maybe that you can single out that you've enjoyed when you were a kid or over the years?
Yeah, I do love animated films, and I think Combat Wombat falls into this category, that it's appropriate for kids and for adults. Adults will
Mm,
love it as well. And the story is very human, despite how like the crazy antics that happen with animation, and how surreal it can get. So I really love it when a film touches something deep inside all of us. I think my favorite animated film at the moment is Disney Pixar. I think it's Disney Pixar, The Soul, or Soul,
Yeah, there's one that's the jazz
the
movie.
jazz film.
Jazz, yeah, Soul. That's from a couple of years ago, but they've
It's from
actually re-released it recently.
oh, did they?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It was part of
yeah.
the Pixar Film Festival that contained 4 movies. So each
Okay.
movie played for a week, and Soul was part of that. But I haven't seen it since it was released. But that's good to know you liked it.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's because I rewatched it recently, and it just
Mm,
really touched me deeply. And And I honestly, I felt the same way with Combat Wombat. We're watching it and seeing such a beautiful story that has such an important message come to life on the screen, and to be part of something like that, and the quality of it as well. Like Australia doesn't have many animated films, as you said.
No.
They're kind of few and far between, but the quality is so high, high enough to be on the international stage. And it just makes me so happy to see that we're really like the ball is really starting to roll with animated films. And like a Photon Studio is fantastic for that. I still haven't seen Scary Girl, but I really am excited to see Scary Girl. I know it's on Stan now.
Yeah,
so
you should. It's actually really good.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see it.
I just hope that maybe if Combat Wombat takes off, maybe Bluey and Combat Wombat can sort of join into like a big feature film.
Yeah, of course. I didn't even mention Bluey, which has taken over the entire world.
That's what I mean. Bluey's in charge.
Bluey is incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we should combine maybe.
I hope so. Oh, if I got to come, if we did a little collab, that would be incredible. I don't know how it would work, but I'm sure we could make it work. They're all animals.
Hollywood would figure it out. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll let them do the heavy lifting.
Now, before we wrap it up, a couple of quick questions. You just answer them briefly or however you want to.
Sure.
Can you surf?
No. I'm actually this is very upsetting for me because I'm in the process of learning how, and I'm struggling, and I have a lot of confidence when I start new things because I generally start things and I'm okay at them. But for some reason, surfing, I am just really struggling with it. And to think like I grew up by the ocean and I can't surf. Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing, but I'm going to get it this year. I'm going to get it.
Well, surfing, and I say this all the time because I've surfed my entire life, but the best part of surfing is learning, because you're trying to stand up and then you're falling off and you're just having fun, but it's all about balance. And do you have your left foot at the front or your right foot at the front when you stand up?
Left foot at the front.
Okay, yeah. So you just lean back on your right and that's how you turn the board. You'll get there. You'll get there.
Hope so.
Can you cook?
I can cook, and I love cooking. Cooking's a big passion of mine.
What's your specialty dish then?
Ooh, I'm going through a pasta phase right now.
Okay.
And so I hand make pasta, and pasta alla norma, which has got eggplant and passata, and it's just very simple. Like it's not that hard to do, but if you hand make the pasta and you do it and with a lot of love and care, it's just so delicious. Oh.
Yeah, no, you've got me hungry. It's almost lunchtime.
I know.
Also now, art, and I like asking this of Queenslanders that I interview because art and sport don't often mix. Being a Queenslander, are you a fan of the Brisbane Broncos or the North Queensland Cowboys or the...
Oh, this is again embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to be a Queenslander in this moment, but I just grew up in a family that did not watch sport.
Fair enough.
I'm not a sport person, but yeah, I grew up in a very like art kind of centered family, and they don't really cross over, and particularly not in my household, unfortunately.
So not even state of origin, you make exceptions?
No. I mean, like I try when the Matildas were playing the World Cup, like I got really into it and I was like, whoa, this has awakened something in me. And I love the community that sport fosters, but I've never been able to get into it fully, and I just don't have the cultural upbringing of it. So yeah.
So even at Bond, no sporting activities there?
No. Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. I did when I was younger, I like did gymnastics and I was part of like a state team.
Yeah.
So I have done sport, and I love sport for that. I love it for the team aspect and for the audience that it fosters, and for the energy it creates in people. But yeah, it's just not something that I've really focused on. But yeah.
It's okay. And now, of course, Skylar is being introduced to the world and Combat Wombat Back to Back. But what's next for you? Is there any projects coming up that you can share with me that aren't, or anything that you want to tell me about that we can
I'm working on a few things at the moment, which are very exciting. I can't share too much about them, but one hopefully will be coming out later this year. Potentially both will be coming out later this year. And then apart from that, I'm just kind of looking forward to the future. Once these jobs finish, hopefully get straight onto another one. But if not, I think I want to just make my own stuff. I want to make a film and just have fun with telling my stories.
How do you find the state of the Australian film industry at the moment? I know we've got a lot and we've already praised it, but in general, is it easy to find jobs, or is it you just got to go out there and look yourself, or do you rely on your agent only? Because I hear different things, but there is a lot of work out there, I think.
There's a lot of work, definitely. I think after the strikes, it's turbulent right now. There's a lot happening, and a lot has already been cast. So auditions are slower than they usually are right now.
Okay.
But there is a lot happening, and that's that energy starting to build back up again, which is very exciting. So yeah, I definitely get most of my work through my agent, but I hear stuff on the grapevine sometimes, and I'm able to see some things out myself as well and pass that on. But yeah, it's a pretty organic process finding work, and there's always going to be something out there.
Yeah.
I think the main thing is not to lose hope if it gets quiet. Just to I think what I try to do if it's a quiet period is just focus on myself and my own life, because that informs your art. Especially as an actor, the more experience you have and the more that you kind of put yourself into every part of living, find all the joys and all the upsets, it's just going to make you a much better actor and creator.
Yeah, I think so. I always put it down to your relationships and networking within the industry, keeping contacts, doing the right thing. But then most of all, above everything else, is definitely, like you just said, you keep grounded as a person and you have talent. So, you got it made, hopefully. Good luck with 2024 and beyond.
Thank you so much. Oh.